We're starting. Okay. Things happen. You know that. As educators, we know that things happen. This is our small group, and I am glad, Dr. Rivas, it's a small group. That makes me happy this summer. But I just want to take this opportunity to say welcome to 605. And wow, can you think back to 601, that first class, and you didn't know whether you were going to be able to do this or not those first 2 or 3 weeks? And how many times did you quit because you said, I don't know if I can handle all of this? I know we quit many times, but look where you are. Look where you are. And I'm just going to say up front, I'm so proud of you and so proud of everything that you've accomplished in the midst of a pandemic and everything that you've had to. I mean, it hasn't been easy. This is not an easy, it's not an easy journey when things are normal because of the rigor of what you have to do. But to know that you've accomplished what you've accomplished in the midst of everything that you've had to deal with, I just want to say a job well done. For those 2 semesters, we've got a semester ahead of us, a fast semester, because we've got to complete what you have been completing in 15 and 16 weeks. We've got 10 weeks to get it all done, but we're going to get it done. And that's the purpose of this evening, is to lay out a plan for you, to let you know that you're in Allstate says you're in good hands. I will tell you, Dr. Revis and I will be Allstate for you this summer. You are in good hands. If you will listen to us and you will follow our directives and you will keep up, I promise you, and I don't make promises that I can't keep, I promise you, you will be successful and you'll look back and you'll say, whew, I've done it. And I want to say, whew, we've done it together at the end of things. Dr. Revis, I'm going to let you just greet them, and they've seen you probably, but they probably don't know who you are.
Hi, my name is Kathy Revis, and I am delighted to be working with Dr. Stedman this semester and with you guys as your clinical coach too. I don't think I've ever had any of you in my class, but I did see Diane Gayer, and I'm a clinical coach 1 for you. So it's good to see you, Diane. Anyway, I hope that we have a great journey together. It's going to be a quick journey, but wow, what a reward at the end. So roll your sleeves up and let's get on the treadmill and let's run as fast as we can this summer.
While I'm bringing things up, because we are a small group and you're not in with another group sharing, we're going to be able to be much more informal with our interaction with you. When we're doing something, if you would, if there's a question, hold your question, because we do have a lot to cover, especially these first couple of weeks, because we've got to get you started and started fast and get you in the right direction. So what I would ask you to do, it's okay, Dr. Revis is going to, when I'm talking, she's going to be checking the, if you have questions, just put it in the chat box. And then I'm going to give you a time that I'm going to just open up and just let you ask Dr. Revis and me anything that you need to ask us. But I do want to give you an idea of what this evening is going to look like. Let me see. And I'm going to try to stick to this, but I promise you I'm not going to tell you I will, because I'll be told you a story and I don't want to tell you a story. It's probably going to go a little bit over tonight, but it'll be worth it, because you want to make sure that when you get started immediately after class tonight, that you know where you are and where you got to go and what you got to do. But this is what we've done to welcome in the introductions. That's over with. We're old news to you now. Just know that you're stuck with us for the next 10, 11 weeks. And, and we're going to love you, and we hope you love us back. We're going to quickly do a course overview and Blackboard overview. This will take, I said 10 minutes, it may take a little more, it may take a little less, but I feel like I need to go through some things with you because the way it's set up is a little bit differently than what you have been accustomed to in 601 and in 603. So I just want to go over it with you. I'm going to go over the weekly schedule with you to include task stream and then the weekly schedule with everything in it. Then Dr. Revis is going to talk to you about her responsibilities as your clinical coach too. Now that's going to be her main responsibilities. However, she is going to join us most of every week, and she's going to have some input into what we're talking about as well. So she'll be sharing in some of the discussion. When I'm talking, Dr. Revis may have some input at any time. She doesn't have to ask my permission. When I take a breath, she can just pick up with the next statement and move on if it's some of her wisdom and expertise that she would like to share. So you feel just as comfortable reaching out to her this semester as you will reaching out to me. We work as a team anyway. Then I want to get into class session 1, which is the same thing as week 1. I've got some things in there where this is going to be a quickie right here, but I do feel like that we need to take a focus on some of the content. And then I'm going to, at the very end, what are our next steps? What is it that you need to begin doing? And then I'm going to open it up for, questions and answers, because I know by then that you will probably have some. So that's basically where we are right now. And with that, I want to go on with, let me see, no, there's where I want to go. I want us just to look at Blackboard, and all of you have already gone in there. I've checked, and everybody has gone into Blackboard, and you've already indicated that you're in the class. Just remember to do your enrollment verification. That's important because all online students, that's how they determine with the registrar's office that you're attending class. I will do an attendance every week, but now this week I will do attendance based on the fact that you've shown up tonight. But after that, my attendance will be done on Mondays following, when work is due on that Sunday, and I will use the submitted work that's required with your evidences. That will count as, if when I get it, that means that you have attended class that week. If I don't get it and I haven't heard from you, then, and we haven't worked out if there's an issue or a problem, then that means I have to count, by Gardner-Webb standards, I have to count you absent, and I don't want to do that. So communicate with me. That's very, very important if there's an issue that we need to talk about. But now we can't put up with a lot of issues because we don't have time. So, unless it's a matter of life or death, and we hope that that's nothing that we have to encounter, we've got to keep up this summer. You know where you can go to My Grades and check your grades all along the way. Let's begin. The support services, you've worked with this throughout your journey, so the support services have not changed outside of Dr. Revis and me. Let's look at your weekly schedule. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to minimize looking at you right now, and then when I'll come back to this in just a little bit so you can see. I can see everything and you can see everything. What you see is for 11 weeks, and yes, 11 weeks are built in here, even though it's a 10-week program, and I'm going to tell you why. I started this week on purpose, and that is so that when we get to the 4th of July week, as Dr. Lamb was mentioning last night, you don't have to show up that week for class, but your work is still due that week. But people may be on the road or, other things. But when it gets to week 7, I will talk about week 7, week 6, but we will not be showing up for class on week 7 via Zoom. We won't show back up until week 8 because we will honor the 4th of July week, and I will just look for your work at the end of that week. However, if you need Dr. Revis or me during that time, will always be available to you, so you can reach out to us no matter what, even if it is the 4th of July week. We'll work with you. I want you to see how each week is signed up. This is the class date. This is today's date. These are the topics. Now, the topics are embedded in everything that you will be doing, for that week, specifically in your reading. And I'll show you the textbooks in a minute, but this is where your required reading will come from. And it's a lot of reading, but it's important reading. And the reading that you do this week will be referenced next week in some form or fashion. So please make sure that you read and you keep up with your Glickman book, your Nordhaus book, and then there is a book that we will talk about in a minute, the Strengths Finders book. There are 3 books that you have to have for this class, and I hope all of you have them already. Then these are your assignments. Again, I told you to make sure that you have done your verification activity to show that you're in the class. And then by the end of this week, and I'll go over it in a minute, assignment 1 will be due. There are 11 weeks, so there are 11 assignments, and all of them are important assignments. Some of them are much more detailed than others, and I'm going to go over those in just a minute. And then if you'll look over here, the evidence work at this point, and Dr. Revis is going to need to know this more than I need to know it, but I need to know it as well. At this point, there shouldn't be a single one of you that has not completed evidence 1, 2, 3, and 4, which is the APSL, APTEL, ALMA, and the SCIP. All of those should already be in task stream with a final score. If that is not the case, then Dr. Revis and I need to know that. We need to know that immediately. So you need to reach out to us tonight. Send us an email, call us, whatever you have to do, and let us know if any of you have not successfully completed those and they're in task stream. And we'll talk about a plan for that if we have to. Also with that, I'm going to introduce the CAAP tonight. I know that it was mentioned to you. Dr. Whitaker actually introduced that to you at the very end of your 603 semester. But when I get to that point, I'll need to know if any of you have where you are with the CAAP, and I'm just going to ask you, and you can just tell us. I need to know, so that will help me understand, where I need to go. And if you look week by week, each week, and I'll go over this, next week. You need to always look a week ahead. You need to know what you're doing that week, but you always need to be aware of what is due next week and get started on as much of that as possible. And again, I told you we're going to go over the assignments in just a minute. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. Let me come back. Okay, let me go out of this and go to, okay, your task stream schedule. This tells you week by week the exact due date, and this is the drop dead date. That this is where it is put into task. It's put into Blackboard for a final grade from me. So that means that if there were issues, we would have ironed them out already. If you have needed help from Dr. Revis, you would have communicated with her already. But you can see that CAAP Task 1 is due for my evaluation, not this Sunday, but next Sunday. And you will see that after that every week that there will be a task of the CAAP that will be due. CAAP Task 2 the next week, CAAP Task 3 the next week, CAAP Task 4 the next week, and then I will give you, at that point when I grade Task 4, I will go ahead and tell you to put it together into a final document, submit it for my review so that I can tell you to put it in the Turnitin process. And then if you see what happens next, we go into the last evidence, the CAAP. And if you see task 1 through 3 is all due at one time on July 7th. Task 4 through 6, because there's 6 tasks to this, are due on the 15th. So you see there is a fast turnaround on all of this because all 6 evidences have to be completed by July 19th. I know you're already stressing, you're saying, how you can do it. I've done this with groups for the last 3 summers, just where you are, and we have not lost a student yet. So yes, you're going to be able to do this, and I'm going to help you understand how you're going to be able to do it tonight. These are things that Dr. Revis will be working with you with, the competency analysis, the competency folio, and she'll talk about that in a little bit, your School of Ed dispositions, and your internship logs. All of these have due dates as well, and you can see they're all on the 26th, towards the very end of this semester. So we will be talking about that more in detail as we're going through, but this maps it out for you. So you need to copy this out, you need to put it on your calendars, and you need to map out, with all of this, how am I going to do this? When am I going to do this? And, work out your own schedule as you've done in the past, realizing that you've got 6 weeks less to do this in, or 5 weeks less than you've had in the past to do that. Again, this is everything that I've just talked about. We have combined that. Yes.
Dr. Stedman, can I just make a point? I know that you're probably stressing when you see that you've got the CAAP task 1 through 3 due in a chunk. But guys, with a CAAP, what you're doing is a culminating project where you're going to pull bits and pieces from the other 5 artifact evidences. So it's not like you're starting out brand new, and we will guide you through that process. It's a copy and paste, but it has to make sense. So it's not like you're starting a new, totally new, authentic task or project.
And thank you for that, Dr. Revis. And when I get to something else on going down in Blackboard, I'm going to show them where last summer I worked something out that will guide them through this process. It'll tell them exactly what they have to do, and it's gonna help you. In fact, if y'all live near me, you like it so much, you'd say, Dr. Stedman, I'm going to take you out to eat because of this. But anyway, I'll just take a rain check on that one. But we're going to help you with that as well. But thank you for bringing that out, Dr. Revis, because I know that they're stressing a little bit now, but I don't want them to. Just see that that again, this is taking everything that we've talked about with due dates, and we put it all into one thing for you as well. Some people need to see it in small pieces. This is the whole picture. This shows everything week by week that you are required to do. Again, we've got it mapped out for you, showing you exactly what has to happen. Again, I hope you have these already, because you're going to need it to keep up with your reading and to be able to do your assignments. So please make sure that you've taken care of the 3 required textbooks. Interim materials, that's just there for your, it's the same thing that you've had all the other 2 semesters. Your Zoom teams, I did not change anything with your Zoom teams. You let me know if there's anything differently, but these are the teams that Dr. Whitaker sent me. She said that this is who worked together last semester. So I kept them just as they are. If it's any differently, you need to let me know. But these are the people you will be working with these teams. One of your classmates is not with us this summer, so that put one of the teams, we've got 2 with 3 working in it and the other with 4 working in it, but that's going to work well even with your peer reviews and your group presentations that you've got to do. again, you know about Zoom already, so I'm not going to go through that. You know how to set up the Zooms. You know how to do your upload your videos and to record them and to send out the links when you're working as a team. You know about the Zoom Masters and all that's old news. You've been doing it for 2 semesters, so I'm not going to go over that. Peer reviewing has not changed. The only thing is you only have to do 4 peer reviews this semester. You will have to do only 1 with CAAP 1, 1 with CAAP 2, 1 with CAAP 3, 1 with CAAP 4, and you don't have to do any peer reviews with the CAAP. Only 4 peer reviews this semester. These are the CAAP task and prompts. This just lays it out for you. When you hit this, this tells you, you know, what the CAAP, what it's all about, what you've got, what to do. This is, you don't get a template with the CAAP, but Dr. Lamb has been gracious enough to put a South Carolina completed CAAP example, or a student from South Carolina that completed the CAAP, and one from North Carolina that completed the CAAP with the examples. This is their entire CAAP. And the reason we put 2 in there, because in North Carolina, you're working with the teacher working conditions survey. South Carolina does not have that. And so we have embedded in there an example of how they have used Advanced Ed or now Cognia to pull the same information in there. So these are going to help you tremendously. I'm going to refer back to those in just a few minutes. You're familiar with the discussion board. This is for the 4 peer reviews that you have to do, and the 4 peer reviews only. This is where you will submit it for the peer reviews for your peers to review and to give you comments on. I will also look at these, but you will have to submit it also to me for a final grade, and I'll show you where that goes in just a moment. CAAP guidance. Okay, this is something that Dr. Whitaker put together. You can look at that if you'd like. It does help, but this is the one that's going to help you the most, and I'm going to refer back to it in just a moment. Just know that this is going to be, you're going to want to copy this. You will use this. It should become almost like your Bible for 605 as you're working through it this summer. But this will help you tremendously. It's going to guide you every step of the way, along with that North Carolina and South Carolina example that you have been given. And I'm going to come back to that in just a minute. And then let's go to your, this is where when you have to submit task 1 for a final grade, you go to the CAAP course assessment. This is where you would put it. You would put, this is for the final grade for me. For each of the 4 tasks for the CAAP, this is where your final CAAP evidence narrative goes. This is for me to say, this is when you put it all together. And these are the 4 peer reviews for the CAAP that you will submit for my grade. This is what you get a grade for in Blackboard. So everything that you get a grade for under the CAAP goes under the CAAP course assessments. And then you don't mess with the CAAP Turnitin check until I tell you that when you go to the final evidence narrative, when you put it all together, that's when I'll tell you it's good to go, submit it for Turnitin, and then when it goes to Turnitin, if everything's good, I'll tell you to submit to task stream for final evaluation. I will tell you at the end of week 5, in 5 weeks, at the latest, you should, that's the last date that you should be submitting the CAAP. Some of you will have it submitted to me within 2 or 3 weeks, I can promise you that, and you'll already be ready to start on your CAAP. When you get to the CIOP, it's no different than what I just said about the CAAP. This is your task and prompts. This is your guidance. This is, again, when you get to this, this is going to be the Bible that you're going to download, and you're going to use it to help you, guide you along with, guide you with what you've got to do. Let me pull that up. I will tell you, you've got, Dr. Whitaker has given some guidance in there. This is the one that I will be referring to, though, my helpful hints. But guess what you get last semester? I mean, your evidence 6, you get a template. So you will have a template that you will be able to follow and use as you are analyzing this and following my helpful hints step by step as you complete the SOP. So this is going to, these right here is going to help you tremendously as you are moving through and completing those tasks. Again, the SIOP course assessments is the same. You only have you have 6 places, but that's the 6 tasks for the SIOP that I will be grading there. Turn it in check is the same. How to upload your completed competency folio for evaluation. This will be with Dr. Revis. This will remind you of some things that you've got to do. This is your task stream final assignments guidance. It tells you things and what about things and when they're due. We will be referring to these documents down here during the semester, your North Carolina digital competencies and your North Carolina standards for school executives. Now, whether you are in North Carolina or South Carolina, you will have South Carolina, you'll have to follow these as we are completing these activities and assignments. But you have some things that probably are very similar in South Carolina, but for these, our purposes, and they're the same thing. They may say them in a little different way, but it's all the same thing. And then we'll be referring to the North Carolina and the South Carolina administrator evaluations as well before the semester's over with. This is taking each class session. We're in class session 1 right now. This is taking each class session and just showing you specifically, what, it's just showing you, it's stuff in there, embedded in there. And you need to make sure that you look at each class session, and ahead of the class, you need to, as much as possible, you need to have looked at every one of those links. If it's an article, you should have read it. We're going to refer to some of the articles tonight because you probably have not had an opportunity to read it yet. But from this point on, when we get to class session 2, then you should have read and gone through everything that's under that class session prior to us coming online for that next session. And that is classes sessions 1 through 11. The only time I won't be referring to anything during that week is the week that of the 4th when we are not there. However, there may be some things that I refer to during another week because it's important enough that that I need to refer to them. With that in mind, Dr. Revis, I'm going to let me pull there. Let me see if I can get back up there. Let me come out of this. You're gonna have to bear with me just a second. Let me come out of this, and that's class session 1. Dr. Revis, if you would go ahead and start talking to them about your responsibilities and your requirements for them this semester as I move on to finding the next thing that we need to talk about.
Sure. Dr. Stedman and I have worked together for several semesters, almost in a team teaching partnership. And I think we're like an old married couple. We can almost finish each other's. But anyway, the way Dr. Stedman likes to handle the process of your tasks that you're going to hand in is you turn them into him for review. You get your peer review, and then he views them, and he will tell you when it's ready to turn in for final assessment. Now, if you've got a big problem, that's when he will say, you need to get in touch with Dr. Revis. And that's when you and I start working together. Or if you're coming into the class and you don't already have those 4 evidences that he just mentioned, already completed and evaluated and finished, you need to reach out to me immediately, both of us, but I will be the one working with you to develop a plan for you to get caught up. I hope you don't get behind, but if you do get behind, that's one of the things that I will work with you and develop an action plan, if you will, for you to get caught up, because the semester goes so quickly. Really, we just can't afford to get behind. Do the best work you can on every task and be ready to turn around your revisions and let's get through them. And what bogs you down is when you start having a lot of revisions to do. But I'll be working with you upon Dr. Stedman's referral. However, there are several things that you have to do that only you and I will work on. And that the biggest thing I want to talk about is your competency folio. I could almost pull my hair out with competency folio. It's much more difficult than it has to be, because everything, all the artifacts that go in your competency folio, you should have already created either in the evidence work that you're doing or from your internship. So in about 5 weeks, or when you finish the CAAP, I'm going to suggest very strongly that you go in and you pick out anything that you can, artifacts from your CAAP and artifacts from your internship, clinical work, and go ahead and get those uploaded. If we wait until the end of the semester, you will not get through the competency folio. It just takes some time. And I'm pretty particular with them. We'll talk more about that as we get closer to that midterm kind of timeline. But that's one of the big things I'll work with you on. Also, I will be the one reviewing your internship logs for this semester and telling you when it's ready to put all 3 of those together for the and transferring that over to your DRF folio. I will do that as well. I will also give you feedback on your School of Ed dispositions and your competency analysis. Those are those 2 self-assessments and task string that you have to do every semester. And I just go in and review those and give you some feedback on those as well. So, you know, I'll be here to support you in any way I can. I hope none of you need me, not because I'm lazy, because I want you to get through this in a way that's quick and doing really strong work. But if you do need me, I'm here to support you.
Okay, Dr. Revis, let me say thank you. Sonia, were you in Dr. Z's class last semester?
Yeah.
Okay, if you would, I'd love to keep you, but if you would go back to your Gardner Web email, they sent you a link. They got their links mixed up, so they are actually in class. So you'll be able to join them if you would.
Okay.
That would help you. Is there anybody
Thank
else
you.
that was with Dr. Z last semester that's with us?
I don't know, but Tamika did come on with us. She was a little
I got it.
started.
Yeah, I saw that. Tamika
Okay.
with us,
Thank
and
you.
Antonio's with us as well. So I think
Okay,
I've got
good.
I think we've got all of our group now.
Great.
Before I move on, let me ask this question, and it's okay to unmute. Is there anybody that who has, just give me a thumbs up, who has already started working on the CAAP? Okay. Okay, good. Who has completed task 1 of the CAAP? Who has completed task 2 of the CAAP? Who has completed task 3 of the CAAP? Okay, who has completed task 4? Okay, good. So what I want you to do, and that's great. So when I go over some things tonight, the only thing you'll have to do, like Ashley, you said you've done all 4. The only thing I would require you to do is to go back, not to change your work, just to make sure that you've included everything that I'm going to be going over, because this is what I'm going to be looking for, and this is what the evaluators are going to be looking for. I probably am going to go a little deeper into it. And the only thing you have to do is to go back and look at what you've already done, any of you, and just make sure that you have included everything. And if you haven't, all you've got to do is go back and include what you don't have. Okay. So it's not anything that you've done. You don't have to throw it out. You just go back and you figure out how to make it work with what I'm going to talk with you about tonight. Okay. So don't stress and say, I've done all this work and, no, absolutely not. And if after tonight you need me to assure you of things, you can set up one-on-one with me. I'll be glad to do a Zoom with you and look at what you've done and give you some advice on it. But I think most of you'll be able to figure it out. So I'm going to share my screen again, and then I'm going to let me pull up. This is the document that I'm referring to, that I said that you would need. So please forgive me, but I hope that I'm going to have to read a lot of it, because I need to read it and make sure. I'm going to go over all 4 tasks at this point, and then we're going to open up for questions with it. Dr. Revis, some of that other stuff we may not get to tonight, but that it doesn't matter. I put it in there in case this is more important right now, I think. And Dr. Revis, when I'm talking, if you have any comments on this as well, you just unmute yourself and I can look at that and just go ahead and start talking as well. But evidence 5 is your cultural advocacy action plan, called the CAAP. Now, for the CAAP, you're going to complete 3 analyses. Task 1 is a needs assessment. Task 2 is the school environmental analysis. And task 3 is a cultural competence assessment. Now, I'm going to talk about all of those. For candidates in North Carolina, you will include data related to the 5 areas that the North Carolina State Board of Education have identified to measure from your most recent teacher working condition survey. And I think that that's in 2018, if it's not your most recent one. I don't think one was done last year, was it? I don't think so. Was it? So, well, if you've got one for 2020, you use your most recent one. What I've said is 2018 in here, but you use your most recent one, okay? Because when I created this, 2018 was the most recent one at that time. So disregard my 2018 date in there and use what is most recent. But these are the 5 areas, and 5 areas only, that you're looking at. You're looking at empowerment, leadership, facilities, resources, and time. Do not deviate from these 5 areas. Okay, instead of 2018, you go to your 2020 teacher working condition survey results for North Carolina. And there's a link for that. Now, when you open up that link, this is what you're going to find. And this is going to help you tremendously, because it's going to save you from having to create and do a lot of stuff that you would have to do on your own if you didn't have this. When you go to column 1, will include the names of all public school systems in North Carolina. And even if you're in South Carolina, you can go to this and you can check out any school in North Carolina and follow the same example if you wanted to. You will click on your school system. Once you click on your school system, scroll until you find your school. Click on your school for the 2020 results. Column 2 is reports. And under column 2, there are 3 icons. Click on the first icon for a detailed 2020 report. That's going to be important. Okay? Again, disregard the 2018 and look at 2020. Click on the second icon for a summary North Carolina 2020 report. This is the one that is most preferred for your purposes. That second icon. Click on the third icon for a comparison report. It'll compare you to the schools in your district, the schools in the state. You get a lot of information from there. And what's good about it, it shows you, it has the charts and the graphs there already to show you when you click on it. So I'm going to let you cheat. I'm going to let you copy. So that's why it's important that you go there. You are permitted to cut and paste information that is applicable to your particular school. This includes charts, graphs, etc. You don't have to create them. They're there for you already. Charter schools in North Carolina should have the same information because they have to, they're tested by the state as well. Now, if you're from South Carolina or private school, etc., you will be responsible for finding a data source that will provide you with the same information. However, when you go to North Carolina and you look at it, you can say, okay, we can find these 5 areas in, and you can fill in the blank. I will tell you, you should be able to find it in your most recent advanced ed studies, or now it's called Cognia. You should be able to find those same 5 areas embedded in there, and you should be able to get the same information that North Carolina gets. But I would tell you, look at North Carolina first, and that will help you more easily go back to South Carolina and find what you need to find, in the information that you have. Again, these areas only: empowerment, leadership, facilities, resources, and time. So guess what I'm going to look for? Guess what, Doctor? You know how you have to put those headings up there and you have to boldface them? Guess what I'm going to look for? Empowerment, leadership, facilities, resources, and time. Don't put another thing in there. You don't have time to do it. So only work on those 5 areas. I wish you could look at the others, but this is all you need for what you've got to do. Now, I told you you've got to do 3 analyses. Task 1, this is what you're going to be doing. You're going to be doing a needs assessment. That's the first of the 3 analyses to be conducted for the CAAP. What am I going to be doing, Dr. Stabin? Okay, in prop 1, I've told you exactly what you've got to do. Now, those of you that have already worked on some things, I promise you, you've probably already got this. But if there's anything that you have to do, again, don't reinvent the wheel. Don't throw the baby out with the wash water. Just take what I'm asking you to do and embed it in what you've already done, unless you were just completely off target. Now, if you were completely off target, then you'll fix it. But again, you're going to do an analysis. You're going to break apart based on what, when you go to the teacher working condition survey and you find empowerment for 2020 for your school, what did it say about your school? You're going to talk about it. You're going to write about it, and you're going to show me some stuff based on the graphs and the visuals that are embedded in there. You're going to talk about it, and you're going to show me in these 5 areas. Again, this will include narrative work and graphic information as well. So that's all you're going to do for prompt 1. These 5 areas, you're going to write about them, and you're going to show me something about them. Okay? Then you go to prompt 2. What am I doing, Dr. Stabin? You are to complete a needs assessment. This is the second analysis that you're doing, a needs assessment. Guess what you're going to base it on? You're going to base it on what you just did in prompt 1. You looked at prompt 1. In prompt 1, there were 5 areas about your school. And this is what the 2020 results said about your school in these 5 areas. Okay, you look at them, and based on what you said, you're going to do a needs assessment based on what you found out. Now, I've told you exactly what this needs assessment should consist of. A background description of the setting. Tell me about what your school looks like, what your district looks like. You talk about you know, the good, the bad, and the ugly. You talk about everything in there. You need to talk about the demographics of your school. You've done this already 100 times in other work. So again, go back and pull from what you've already done and use whatever you need to pull from that again as you're talking about the setting. You may have to add some things to it, but you know, you've got a lot of this narrative work already completed. Then the second thing you're going to do, you're going to give me a clear statement of the purpose of what is the purpose of this needs assessment? Why are you doing it? You know, all I want is in there, why are you doing this needs assessment for this assignment and for your school? Then a list of participants who participated during the needs assessment process. That could be your the team that's been working with you, you know, from the beginning of this process. It could be a new team that you've created. It could be the SIT team. It could be whoever you can pull together during the summer from your school to work with. You know, be creative, but it must be somebody other than just yourself. You must have a team, whether it's a large team or a small team, and it's probably going to be a small team, you know, based on the fact that, you know, that it is summer. And at what stage of the process the participants were active. In other words, who's working with you? What did they help you do? Then after you do that, an analysis of the findings. When you did that needs assessment, what did you find? When you sat down, you remember the first semester when you were having to analyze data for the first time with your PLC team. Again, you're just kind of sitting down in your a round table discussion of, you know, this is what I found up here, and you know, or this is what I found, and you're going to talk about it, and you're going to analyze those findings, and you're going to talk about it right here. Because guess what? Sometimes somebody else can see something that you can't see, and it will help you. Then, after you do all of this, you and that team, you're going to have a set of recommendations that's going to identify strategies that will help lead the school to a safer, more culturally diverse environment for teaching and learning. Again, in task 1, these are the facts. These are the results of everything. Task 2, you're doing a needs assessment based on what you found in task 1, and you're going to have a list of recommendations based on that. And you even have a link here that provides information about what a needs assessment looks like. This will help you tremendously as well. Okay. Okay, then the school environmental analysis, I said that the other was the second. This is the school environmental analysis, the second of the 3 analysis. This is what you do. The candidate is to use quantitative data instruments. Now, when you talk about quantitative data, you're talking about numbers, aren't you? You're talking about, these are the actual real numbers and the actual results. Now, remember, at the beginning, I told you when you go to the actual survey results, when you click on those columns, remember I told you that the real numbers are there and the real actual results are there. So don't forget to go back and use what's already there. To help understand staff perceptions of the school environment, when you go to the link for the teacher working condition survey and review the summary results, you are using quantitative data when you use percentages, etc. Okay, so it's there for you. Don't make it harder than you have to be. You've got what you need right there. In addition to using existing data and information, you're going to also be responsible for engaging in qualitative research. Now, you know, qualitative research that's where surveys, interviews, just talking to people, those kinds of, this will be done through the following, in addition to any other methods that you think of that may not be listed. Okay, and these are examples of things that you can do. Okay, when you do a survey, you can use SurveyMonkey, you can use Google Docs, whatever works for you. You may have you may be with your staff, and you may just give them a survey and a meeting if you're back to face that they complete. If that works for you, then I don't care. But what I would do when you go back now, what you're doing, this is what in 2020, the last results, this is what they said. Wonder if it's the same now. Wonder if, based on everything that they've experienced with COVID, maybe you've got to do administration. Maybe things, are not just like they were in 2020. Wonder if when you ask 3 or 5 of the same questions that were asked when the last teacher working condition survey was done, wonder if you get the same results. Well, that's what you're going to find out, because you're going to take, and I wouldn't make up any, go back and pull some of the same questions that were asked in 2020, and don't ask 15 or 20 questions. All you need is 3 to 5 good questions to ask to get the pulse of where they are now. But I would make sure that they were good, strong questions that will give you some information that you need as you're developing your plan of action for what you're doing, based on the culture of your school, where things are right now. Everybody's questions may not be the same, and they don't have to be the same. But again, go back to those questions that were asked with the teacher working condition survey, and just put a new survey out there. You could put a focus group. You may have a Zoom session with 5 people that agree to let you interview them in a Zoom session, and you ask all the 5 the same questions, and you would record their answers. That's qualitative data. Okay. Now, this was written last year, but I think it's still very relevant where we are now, even though some of you have gone back face to face. Things are still not nearly normal. So in light of our current situation, you can form a focus group, as I just said, set up a Zoom session for the interview, discussion, whatever works best for you. You can conduct one-on-one interviews via Zoom or over the phone if that works for you as well. Whatever works for you to get your qualitative data, just make sure you include your qualitative data based on asking some of the same questions over again to see what you get now. Candidates must demonstrate how the qualitative data collected through the surveys and observations, and this can be on your observations of what you saw in your school prior to having to leave for COVID-19 and coming back, and how all of this and interviews complements existing published data about the school environment that details student achievement. In other words, you're going to look at that 2020 data, and you're going to compare the results that you get from your new surveys and your new questions with what it was then. It may not have changed a bit. And if it didn't, you just simply say that. But if there were some changes, this is your opportunity to narratively talk about it and just to put it out there. And your interview existing published data about the school environment that details student achievement, student and staff cultural diversity, including exceptionalities, race, ethnicity, socioeconomic status, gender, and other differences that may exist in the school and community, to provide a more complete review. Now, all of us know we're grown. We know a lot of things has happened out there in the last year that could really focus people's mindset differently on a lot of this. This probably is one of the most important plans that you could put in place with the times that we're experiencing right now. Wouldn't you say so, Dr. Revis? I just think that this is a golden opportunity to just get the pulse of where your staff and your people are in your school, and to know it's an opportunity to take all of these current situations that we're dealing with and to make something positive out of it. Dr. Revis, before I get a breath, you want to say something?
Sure, I agree. And so much has changed since last year when we all of a sudden flipped a switch and went virtual. And this year has been a hodgepodge back and forth. And I know that your data that you're going to get in your survey from the teacher working condition, that you're going to resurvey some questions from your teacher working condition survey. I'm almost certain you're going to get different data. So that's why it's good also to delve into that qualitative piece, meaning a small focus group or one-on-one interviews, so you can kind of get people to expand on their answers and give you a really good picture of what's going on in your environmental analysis. And I think most principals would really, really treasure getting this information.
I agree.
It's just a real opportune time for you to get a pulse on your environmental analysis of your school.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Revis. Task 3, and I know we're at 8 o'clock, but hang with me. I think we need to do this. The third of these analyses is your cultural competence analysis. Now, I've even given you a good definition of what cultural competence is. This refers to an ability to interact effectively with people of different cultures and socioeconomic backgrounds, particularly in the context of human resources, nonprofit organizations, and government agencies whose employees work with persons from different cultural, ethnic backgrounds. Cultural competence comprises 4 components: awareness of one's own cultural worldview, attitude toward cultural differences, knowledge of different cultural practices and worldviews, and cross-cultural skills. Developing cultural competence results in an ability to understand, communicate with, and effectively interact with people across cultures. And again, I can't be any plainer than to tell you, we are living these times. This is so, so important. This is a great opportunity for you to show your leadership and to really come across in a very positive way as we're dealing with some very relevant issues right now. And you deal with them in your schools, and you know that. The candidate, what you're going to do is you are going to measure the level. It's like a thermometer. What is the level of cultural competence at your school? How am I going to do this? By assessing through consumer research, such as internet searches on school websites or qualitative methods as used in task 2 or a combination of both. This is what you're going to do. You're going to look at, and we're going to talk about this more in detail, you're going to look specifically at the school's vision and mission. And you and that team that you put together, you know, what is my school's vision statement? And what is our school's mission? Is it just a bunch of words? Does it mean anything? And the thing is, what was good 2 years ago, 3 years ago, may not be good for your school now. So this is an opportunity to say, you know, that served its purpose then, but you know, based on us and where we are, that does not represent us. Those words don't mean anything anymore. This is your opportunity to say it. Now, guess what? When you present this, it may go on deaf ears. I hope it doesn't, but you will have done your part as a leader, and you will have grown from this work when you present it. And you're going to have to boldly say, you know, this is how the team and I feel based on what I found, and you've got to be able to back it up. But you're going to have a great opportunity to show yourself in a new way when you present this information. But you're going to analyze that vision and mission statement. You're going to tear it apart. Now, in about 3 weeks, I'm going to talk to you about, or Dr. Revis and I are going to talk to you. We're going to talk to you about vision and mission statements. Then, what else am I going to look at? Now, this can be touchy, so you've got to be careful with it. But guess what? You've got to be true. The teacher working conditions survey is what it is. There's a section on school leadership. And in advanced ed, it's the same thing. Now, what I want you to do, or what you have to do, is you go to that section on school leadership and you pull 3 or 4 questions, again, 3 to 5, You ask those same questions again. Now, if you've got new administration, guess what? You will see that it's probably different. If it's the same person, um, you want to see if leadership, if after COVID, if people view the administration like they did before COVID. There's a lot of things that you can look at as you are looking at, this is what they said in 2020, but this is what they're saying now, based on you sending out those same questions again on school leadership and just seeing where they are. You've got to be candid about it. And when you present it in a very diplomatic way, but you can say, you know, as we looked at school leadership, this is what it said in 2020, but this is what it's saying now, because they need to know. Then you're going to look at teacher quality as measured by experience and certifications. You know what? Teachers are leaving the field every day now. Every day they're dropping like flies. So in 2020, what did it look like then? And then after COVID, is it looking the same in your school as far as the quality of teachers, the experience and certifications? Or are you struggling in that area now? This is something you need to look at. Is there diversity in your school like it needs to be? Then what does parental involvement and support look like in your school? Conflict resolution. How do you deal with problems in the school? This would be based on, what does the law say? You had all this last semester. What does local policy say? What are procedures in place at your school? You need to look at all of that, and you know how, when there are problems in our school, whether it's with students, with parents, with problems with staff, yeah, how are things handled? What procedures, what processes are in place? And then student achievement. You've got to look at test scores and results, and you've done this every semester that you've been in this program. You've got to look at it again, you know, do an analysis of where they are. And you need to look at, when you look at student achievement, because of the cultural competence that we're working with, you need to really zero in on your subgroups there. Really focus on your subgroups. That is all a part of making sure that cultural competence is there needs to be a plan in place. If you see that in your subgroups that it appears that a subgroup is falling between the cracks, then this is an opportunity to say it and to put a plan in place to try to fix that. This analysis must contain a list of recommendations that include specific activities and programs designed to present an action plan that will improve the culture of your school. Now, task 4, guess what? You get to do another plan. The candidate's going to develop an electronic framework to graphically display the progress of the school related to the cultural advocacy and safety. This framework will have data that will demonstrate graphically the beginning and the ending data sets that measure the progress of the school on the parameters identified in the following: the climate analysis, the school environmental analysis, the cultural competence analysis. Everything you've talked about in 1, 2, and 3, you're going to put it all together down here in some type of organized way of looking at it as a plan of action for your school. And in addition, the graphic organizational chart should also meet the following criteria. You're going to design strategies for achieving a collaborative and positive work environment within the school. You're going to utilize data sources to identify perceptions of the work environment. You know, perceptions are real. Perceptions are real because that's how people feel. And if it's the wrong perception, this is an opportunity to try to veer those wrong perceptions in the right way through a plan of action. Uses shared values, beliefs, and a shared vision to promote a school culture of learning and success. Identify strategies for developing a sense of well-being among staff, students, and parents and guardians, and then works with others to build systems and relationships excuse me, that utilize the staff's diversity, ideological differences, and expertise to realize the school's goals. Now, what you're going to have to do is you're going to narratively write about all of these things, and then you're going to incorporate them into your plan of action as you do it. Make sure you provide narrative work that details what is being observed, that explains what that electronic framework looks like. In other words, I'm going to look at it, I'm going to see it, and then you're going to talk about it as well. I'm going to read about it. Now, you're going to be responsible for presenting the results and recommendations of the CAAP to your administration. Now, you may be face-to-face now. If you are, then I would recommend face-to-face with your principal. If not, then you work it out if you have to do it via Zoom, but there must be evidence that you have presented. Now, I know some of you are shaking in your shoes. You've got a lot of this stuff already. Go back and you pull together what you've got and use it. Dr. Revis, I promise you, of all the evidences, this is probably my most favorite. It's a lot of work, but it's my most favorite because this one is to me is one that helps where the rubber meets the road. This is the real deal about the school, about us. And for you, it's a great opportunity to really shine as a leader. We're going to talk about this more next week. We'll start breaking it down, but I felt like because of where all of you were in different places, that it was important that I take the time to go over all of it to start with so you can begin wrapping your heads around it. I know you're going to have questions to ask. It's okay to call me. You can call me. If I can't talk to you right then, just make sure you let me know who you are and leave me a number that I can call you, and I'll call you back as soon as I can. Dr. Revis will do the same thing. You've got my phone number, but write it down in case it's 910-633-4816. Dr. Revis, if you would give them your phone number.
Yeah, yes, I put it in the chat bar.
Right.
Phone number and email address. And let me say one thing. You should, I think, now have a working clinical internship shell.
They do.
Where you can upload work. If Dr. Stedman asked you to get with me and upload work, that would be where you would do that.
And you don't have to really have my permission. If you really want Dr. Revis's eyes to look at it before it comes to me, it's okay. We work well together. And if she has a question, excuse me, she's going to call me. We talk to each other a lot of times at 7:30 in the morning when I get work. So, it's okay. Unmute yourselves now and let's talk. Tell me where you are. I don't want you to again to be scared to death, but I want to ask just what I just went over. Do you see that as a document that's going to help you, even if you started on things, helping you fill in the gaps with what you may not have understood? Do you see that as a good help? Good. That's what I wanted. When I worked on this for days last summer because I knew that you only had a short amount of time to get things done, and I wanted to make sure that your work, you were able to do quality work without having to struggle and figure out things. So a lot of time and effort's gone into this. So I want to make sure that it does work for you. You're going to do fine. Again, I promise you. Keep up though. That is vitally important. You tell your family, just tell them if whoever your significant other, just tell them they're responsible for all the cooking over the next 10 weeks. Just say Dr. Revis said that, not Dr. Stedman. No, just tell them that they've got to help out. Let family know that you're almost there. I thank your families for what they've already done, but let them know you're almost there, and just to hang in there just a little bit longer, and that they're going to also reap the rewards of all of this when you become administrators, and the field is going to be plentiful for you to be able to have those opportunities. And we want to make sure that you're well prepared. I'm going to push you hard, but I'm going to love you every step of the way, and I'm going to help you every step of the way. If you get behind one little bit, guess what? I'm going to pick up the phone. I'm going to find out why. I am not going to let any of you not make it. Dr. Revis is not either. So guess what? You're stuck with me, and I hope you love it. Any questions before we sign off? Any questions at all?
I have a question.
I have a question. You can go ahead and go first.
Okay,
Lanika.
Lanika.
Okay. It's about the textbooks. So I
Mhm.
bought all my textbooks, but I'm not sure that I purchased the right thing. And it was really for the third textbook that's listed that I was confused about.
The
So
Strengths Finder.
Yeah,
Okay,
so I
this
bought
this is what it looks like. Can you see it? Can everybody see that?
It's not listed under your class for the bookstore site.
Okay, this is it's
You
not.
can get it on Amazon. That's where I
Yeah,
got
this
mine.
is and you probably, let me tell you, when you order it, and you've got time for this, but go ahead and put your order in the back of the book, you're going to see this. This is where there's a special code in the back of the book. If you buy a used one, it's going to be gone. So don't buy a used one. You're going to have to do a personal Strengths Finder assessment on yourself when you complete this is my favorite, one of my favorite books of all. You're going to love it. But you're going to do assessment. You're going to learn some things about yourself with this, a lot about yourself. So make sure that you get one, that if you order a book, you don't get a used book that does not have the assessment in it. You can buy an assessment, but it's so much harder to find where you can, where you can get the assessments to be able to complete for yourself. So this is a book that you will use after this class is over with. It's not a real expensive book, but it's something that you will use again. I promise you that. I refer to this a lot. I've had the Gardner Webb. I don't know why it's not on there, because it's a requirement for the class. This is not my requirement. This is built into the class already, but you've got time to get it. But go ahead. I would go ahead and look for it and place my order tonight. But you can find it. It's Strengths-Based Leadership by Tom Rath and Barry Conchi, and it's the same information that you will find in, on your course syllabus. But I would go ahead and look for it tonight. Does that answer that, Lanika? Does that answer your question? Okay, thank you.
I purchased two books. I got confused, and then I ended up with a used book. So I'll just return these and get a new one.
Okay, you've got time to do it, but I would go ahead and try to get it done today or tomorrow.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, Sarah, you had a question?
Yeah, and you may have already said, but I really have two questions.
Okay.
So when we're looking at our teacher working conditions survey for the prompt 1, task 1 of the CAAP, where to use the second one, which is comparing your district with the state or your school with the state. Is that correct?
Yes, the second column is, well, you can use any of those columns, but the second one is the one that we have found it gives you the best information. The second column.
Okay. And then my other question, so it's not due to you for assessment until May 30th. If I wanted to turn it in for you to look at prior to that, is there a spot to do that, or do I email straight to you? Where does that go?
What you can do, you can submit it, and again, when you look at us, and I didn't get a chance to go over those assignments, we will look at them, and we'll talk about them next week. Just know that week 1 you have an assignment. You got an assignment due this coming Sunday, and when it says to do a brief, now look, don't slack on me. I don't want a dissertation, but don't give me something that would be a high school student doing something. Okay. Just make sure that it's quality work. I'm not asking for, long detailed work, as long as you've covered the subject, but make sure you're a graduate student. So
You're breaking up. We can't really hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, but I couldn't hear anything you just said.
Okay, just make sure you're giving me quality work with all of your assignments. When it says to do something brief, just make sure that it's not too brief. Just make sure that but you can submit it. And Sarah, if there's anything that I think that it's not quite enough, I'll send it back and I'll tell you to do a little more on it if there's anything wrong. But those weeks are there to keep you paced. But if you can get work done in advance, turn it in when you want to turn it in. I'll take work at any time that you submit it, okay? But even when you put
Okay.
it in there for an assignment, if there's something wrong with it, I'm not going to let you get a bad grade. I'm going to send it back and tell you to fix something, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I will get all A's out of this class. I promise you that if you'll do what I'm asking you to do. Okay, any other questions? I mean, my internet is unstable. I don't know what's happening. It may be outside, I don't know. But anyway, any other questions?
I think we've answered all the questions in the chat box, so we're good there.
Okay, well, listen, I am available. You probably are going to think of some things tomorrow. You're not going to bother me if you call me. I'd rather you call me. Okay, do not, and don't stumble. And it's okay to call me on the weekend. I don't care. My wife's used to it. So call me on the weekend if you're working on things, you've got a fast turnaround. You know, I don't want you to get stumped on something and can't do something if it's something that Dr. Revis and I can answer very quickly for you. Okay. You may want to send me a text message and just say, can you chat a minute? Call me, and that probably is the best thing to do. And I'll call you just as soon as I can. Okay. But a lot of times, okay, Michelle, you got a question? Okay.
Yes, I'm sorry. Did you say assignments were due by Sunday at midnight?
One assignment is your first assignment from your reading is due, and it's a 1-page thing. I usually say by 9 o'clock, if you can get them in by 9 o'clock, because what happens, I don't go to bed usually until I have completed assignments, so that you've got feedback by the next morning. That's what I try to do. Okay. Most of you, and you don't have to wait until Sunday. Anything can be submitted anytime along the way. I check work about 3 or 4 times a day. Okay. If you don't call me, guess whose fault it is if you need me? It's your own fault if you don't call me if you need me. Okay. Okay. Have a great evening. If I don't hear from you before then, I look forward to seeing you next Tuesday. Okay. Okay. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Okay.